Welcome to the field, the Super Bowl preview show. Looking forward to this one. Thanks for rejoining us on the YouTube channel. It's been a little while between drinks, but a Super Bowl demands a video. Now, I've got a pigskin in my hand, a Nike one, signed by the great Marshawn Lynch, if you don't mind. Skittles. He was a little inebriated when he signed it, but nevertheless, he's a Super Bowl champ, and he signed this football. But it's not about Marshawn. It's about San Francisco and Kansas City. It is a rematch of 2019, but things look a little bit different for San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan's still the head coach, and he's been absolutely outstanding. But Jimmy Garoppolo out. Jimmy G is no longer a Niner. Brock Purdy, ever so sturdy. That's what I like to call him. He is the starting quarterback, of course, for the Niners. So it's the Niners and the Chiefs, a rematch of 2019. Can't wait for it. It's going to be fantastic. So in terms of what we're going to do here today, or whilst you're watching, a little preview, a little look at both teams. We'll try and pick the winner, and we'll get out. We'll absolutely get out. So, of course, Super Bowl 2020. Super Bowl 2020 was the clash between these two teams. It was the Niners going in with a 10-point lead in the last quarter, but Patrick Mahomes did what he does most times and got the job done for his Chiefs, won himself a nice little championship ring. He's got two, of course, by now, and he's looking for a third. So back in that 2020 Super Bowl, it was a 1920 season. It was Damian Williams and Travis Kelce who scored late touchdowns on the back of Mahomes' passes to secure victory. And Jimmy G just couldn't make the passes that were needed in that game. So that's the reason why the Chiefs got it done. As I mentioned, Kyle Shanahan had gone from Atlanta to the Niners. Of course, the upset in Atlanta when they're up 28-3, lost that game, and they lose the Super Bowl in 20 on the back of having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. It was absolutely devastating. George Kittle and Debo were a part of that team. So some of the superstars that are in this Super Bowl were in that one, but one person who wasn't, one man who was not, is Christian McCaffrey, and he will make all the difference for the Niners. He is an absolute beast. The other person, the other player who I mentioned earlier who wasn't, was Brock Purdy. So in 2020, Brock Purdy was balling out for Iowa State. I think he was a sophomore at Iowa State. It's a far cry from where he is now. Of course, he's the man charged with guiding San Francisco back to Super Bowl greatness, their first, what would be their first Super Bowl victory in quite some time. So to be honest, I don't take much out of that contest back there in 2020 because it was a different quarterback. It's two different teams. Mahomes is still Mahomes. He's still great. So is Travis Kelce. Even though he is these days dating Taylor Swift, just had to get a Taylor Swift reference in for the hashtags, for the algorithm to hopefully pick it up and get a few Swifties on board. I am, for what it's worth, I am all in on the Swiftie Travis Kelce thing. I mean, showing her a few times makes no difference to me. I wouldn't matter if they showed Joe Blow in the crowd. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're showing her a few times. Someone come out with a stat. It's 20, 25 seconds worth of work or worth of vision. It ain't impacting the game. Just relax. You don't need to be angry for the sake of being angry. So I'm all in on Travis and Tate. Hopefully, T. Kelce, with a Super Bowl ring or not, is out here in Australia for those concerts, which are not far away. Now, let's have a look at these two teams. It's been a tale of two very different seasons for these two squads. So the AFC champs, Kansas City, they've endured some drama, some pain, some poor play, some poor form, some frustration. We can recall Mahomes going absolutely sick at a referee midway through the season. That was as much frustration with how he and his team were playing as it was anything the referees did on that occasion. So they've overcome that. Plenty of drops. Quite amazing and somewhat ironic that the Chiefs receivers were some of the worst culprits in the NFL for drop passes during the season in the AFC title game. Didn't drop a pass. Unbelievable stuff. So Denver beat them when they're at their worst. Green Bay beat them in Lambeau Field. Dallas beat them. The Bills rolled them. So it's been a real interesting season. Las Vegas went in to Kansas City, went into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. So a really fascinating season for the Chiefs, but they got it corrected when they needed to. Of course, Andy Reid leads this team to their 4th Super Bowl appearance in just 5 years. And at 28, Patrick Mahomes is chasing ring number 3. It's quite amazing what he is doing. It's quite amazing some of the historical stats and historical records he is chasing down and he is beating. And I guess these playoffs for the Chiefs have been all about them owning and taking the underdog mantle, the underdog status, and they've done it beautifully. So week 1 of the playoffs, the wildcard weekend, it was Arctic conditions. Forget about Miami. I actually give them a complete pass for that game. How would you go if you lived in North Queensland, if you lived in Townsville or Cairns and you had to go down and play in minus 20, minus 25 degrees temperatures? How would you go? How would you go? How would you go? Seriously, answer that with a bit of honesty and get back to me. But the Chiefs were underdogs when they went to Buffalo to face the Bills. They got it done. They got it done. They also were underdogs when they went to Baltimore to face the best team in the football, in all of football, the Ravens, and they put together a masterful display, a masterful game plan, and got it done. Sent MVP Lamar Jackson and a ferocious defense packing at home. That was an unbelievable performance. Mahomes went in there, as I said, with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce with a masterful game plan. Pacheco was absolutely fantastic running the rock. Kelce, as I said, had 116 yards and a touchdown, 11 catches on 11 targets. Absolute perfection from Mahomes and from Kelce. And as Big Travis said at the end of that contest, you got to fight for your right to party. And they partied. But it's back to business for the Chiefs. Let's look at their opponents, San Francisco, the 49ers. They've been a juggernaut ever since Kyle Shanahan took over alongside general manager John Lynch. They've acquired player after player. You think about Christian McCaffrey and you think about Chase Young on the defensive line. They've already got Nick Bosa. They've already got Trent Williams on either side of the O-line, D-line. They drafted Deebo Samuel. They drafted George Kittle. They get a little lucky with Brock Purdy because if you remember, the quarterback room was Jimmy Garoppolo. They traded up to get Trey Lance at pick 3. That was a complete bust, but they owned it. They moved him, and they said Brock Purdy can be our guy. They moved Jimmy Garoppolo as well. And Brock Purdy in season number 2, just season number 2, goes back-to-back NFC championship games, and in year 2 makes his first trip to a Super Bowl. He is quite a phenomenal young man. They've got all pros all over the place. This team is built to be a sledgehammer. And for much of the season, they have been an absolute sledgehammer. They've got all pros everywhere. Christian McCaffrey is a multi-time all-pro. Deebo Samuel's an all-pro. George Kittle is an all-pro a couple of times over. Nick Bosa a couple of times over on defense. Fred Warner the same. Trent Williams more times than you can remember to count. And Kyle Juszczyk, even though a lot of the hype around Juszczyk is about his wife and the things that she's making for Tay-Tay and others to wear, turning jerseys into boots and jackets and all sorts of things. Pretty cool. Check it out on your TikTok. It is an incredible roster. It is a very fine roster, and there's a reason they're back-to-back NFC Championship appearances, and also 3 NFC West titles under Kyle Shanahan's reign. It's been a fantastic reign under those two, Shanahan and Lynch. But you do feel like they deserve or they need to go and get a Super Bowl to make it really, really count because they have traded away a lot of their future. They have traded away a lot of their future. But it might not come down to those All-Pros because we know what they'll do. It will probably come down to ever so sturdy Brock Purdy. Can he make the throws that Jimmy Garoppolo could not make in the 2020 Super Bowl? Can he make the plays that Lamar Jackson couldn't make to go with Patrick Mahomes? A lot of that game, we talked about how great Mahomes was. It was only 17-10. So Mahomes made the crucial 3rd and 4th down throws and runs that Lamar Jackson couldn't make. Brock Purdy will have to stand back there and he'll have to make 2 or 3 big throws, or he'll have to scramble like he did in the NFC Championship game when they were down to Detroit. He'll have to make a couple of big plays, and he'll have to make them count. And if he can, I think the Niners can win this game. That's how close it is. That's how close I think this game will be. Let's have a look at some cool stuff, some stats. I've been trawling away on the internet, listening to podcasts, having a listen to some people whose opinion I really value and rate. And I'll tell you what, the quarterback salaries is so interesting. So we know about Mahomes. He signed that deal worth around $480 to $500 million over 10 years. So annually, he's on $52.5 million average by average. Brock Purdy, who's on a rookie deal as Mr. Irrelevant coming out of the draft, pick 262. He's making just 870 grand. So there's a $51.8 million difference between the quarterbacks. And that's interesting. That's interesting because both guys are trying to rewrite history when it comes to their respective salaries. So only two quarterbacks in NFL history have won a Super Bowl when they take up more than or 13% or more of their team's salary cap. Ironically, San Francisco's Steve Young, the lefty back in the day, and Patrick Mahomes last year. So only two quarterbacks have done it. Mahomes did it last year, and Steve Young did it way back when, in the mid-90s, I think. So that is interesting. Conversely, and this is where it gets double interesting, only 6 quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl whilst they are playing on a rookie contract. One of them doesn't really count, Carson Wentz. He didn't play in the game, but he did take part for most of the season. The other 5 were Big Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Eli Manning, and, you guessed it, Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes has done both. Whichever way this thing lands, if Mahomes wins, he's going to rewrite history or he's going to add to history again. He's on both sides of that ledger. So it won't be new ground for him, but certainly very, very interesting if you don't mind. In terms of a bit of momentum and two teams who enter off different storylines. So Kansas City have been the underdog, as I said, but they've been dangerous. So they've won their past 2 as an underdog. They've covered the spread. For those who like to have a little flutter, a wager, they've covered the spread or the handicap in their past 3 games, in their past 5 games, to be honest. While San Francisco have been expected to thump Green Bay and to thump Detroit, but they haven't. They've only fell in, to be honest. So they are zipping 3 against the spread in their past 3. They're only the second or third team to actually make a Super Bowl when they have got a record such as that, where they're really poor against the spread. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they go. Of course, the Niners have overcome that, I was going to say narrative, but it's fact that they've been unable or struggled to overcome deficits in the Kyle Shanahan era. They've done that in both their playoff wins against Green Bay and against Detroit. So they've proven that. Kyle Shanahan called it a gut check moment. They've been able to do that, to overcome that. So they know they've got the confidence they can overcome any type of deficit. But if Mahomes gets you down by 10, you might stay down. So that is a look at some cool stats. In terms of who I'm picking, it's time to put my pigskin on the line. My heart is not really involved. My heart really wants Joey Burrow to be back in the Super Bowl, but that's a story for another day. My head says Kansas City. My head says do not count out Patrick Mahomes. There's so much Tom Brady about him. Sure, he plays the game in a different manner. He's a little more tubby. He is a lot younger, and he plays the game in a more of a backyard manner than Tom Brady did, who was more of a surgeon and assassin. But they are very similar. They are very similar. Do not discount Patrick Mahomes. Do not discount him. If you do, it'll probably be at your peril. I was with him in the AFC Championship game. The only problem is my pocket says San Francisco. So Rory Laird and Paul Seedsman, a couple of teammates of mine or ex-teammates of mine, good buddies of mine, we have been on the Niners since about midway through the season. So we are, I guess, financially invested in the Niners, but all 3 of us think the Chiefs will be too good. So I'm going to ignore my hip pocket, trust my brain, trust Patrick Mahomes, and go this way. Kansas City 24, San Francisco 22. First touchdown, Deebo Samuel. Whether it'll be rushing or receiving, it doesn't matter. Hopefully he doesn't pass it, but I think he'll be on the receiving end, either out of the backfield as a big bull looking for the first touchdown, or he can play wide out, as we know. I think he can be MVP as well. And now let me just grab my phone. This is a little unprofessional, but let me just grab my phone. Brock, Deebo Samuel for MVP. Now, we know it's all about the quarterbacks. And what I will say is if you think Kansas City will win the game and you think Mahomes will be the MVP. So if you think Kansas City will win the game, then maybe not even back Kansas City to win. Just take Mahomes to be the MVP. Now I'm looking. I'm not having any luck here, but Mahomes to be MVP as we bring up the MVP award, which is just eluding me at the moment. So just stay with me. This is a great TV. Mahomes is 225, so you're getting an extra 15 cents on your dollar to take Mahomes to win MVP. So he's the obvious one, and I have tipped Kansas City. So instead of backing Kansas City, I'd probably just back Mahomes to be the MVP. But Deebo Samuel, if you think the Niners can win, if you think they will win, Deebo Samuel, $18 to be MVP. Purdy's $3. McCaffrey's $5. That makes a lot of sense. But Deebo Samuel is $18. I think he can score the first touchdown as well. So that's the way I'm leaning. Kansas City 24, San Francisco 22. I think Mahomes will get his third ring, if you don't mind. He's only 28 years of age. This game is sure to be an absolute beauty. I'll be consuming it from Marvel Stadium, where there's a big Super Bowl party, a big gather party. So if you're in the area, come along. Take the day off work. Your boss will understand. Otherwise, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please make sure you do. Please make sure you do. Plenty have, and we're thankful for that. But it's been good bringing you a little Super Bowl preview video. We'll be doing a little more. Sarah and I will be back with the audio version later in the week. We might even upload that one to YouTube as well. So make sure you're following along and you have subscribed to the Field YouTube channel. My name's Josh Jenkins, and it's time for me to get out of here.